I had never believed in ghosts. Not until the winter of 2019. I was 29 years old and working as a night shift maintenance technician for a small property company in northern Pennsylvania. Most of our jobs were ordinary. Broken heaters, frozen pipes, power failures, old houses with bad wiring. But one property was different. It sat nearly 2 miles from the nearest paved road, surrounded by dense forest and abandoned farmland. The address was listed as 117 Hollow Creek Road. There was no street sign, no neighboring houses, and no cell service. The property company had bought the place cheaply after the previous owner died. My supervisor told me the house had been empty for almost 11 years. My job was simple. Go there after dark. Check the basement furnace. Make sure the pipes hadn't frozen. Lock the doors. Leave. The first night, nothing happened. At least, nothing I could explain. I arrived around 11:40 p.m. Snow covered the driveway, and the trees were completely still. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The house smelled old. Not rotten. Just abandoned. There was a living room, a narrow hallway, a kitchen, and a staircase leading upstairs. I turned on my flashlight and walked toward the basement. That's when I heard the first sound. 3 knocks. From upstairs. I stopped. Knock. 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 I waited. Nothing. I called my supervisor. He laughed when I told him. Probably a branch. There weren't any branches near the house. But I didn't argue. I finished checking the furnace and left. The next night, the knocks came again. 3 knocks. Exactly the same. 11:53 p.m. I checked every room. Nothing. The third night, I decided to record it. At 11:53, the knocking started. 3 slow knocks. I stood in the hallway with my phone recording. Then something happened that made my stomach drop. The knocking came again. But this time, it came from behind me. I turned around. The hallway was empty. The sound had come from the basement door. I hadn't noticed it before, but the basement door had a small metal latch on the outside. It was locked. I walked toward it. The knocking stopped. Then I heard something else. A voice. Very quietly. Don't open it. I froze. I didn't touch the door. I left the house. The following morning, I showed my supervisor the recording. He listened twice. Then he asked me something strange. Did you hear the voice while you were there? I said yes. He didn't answer. Instead, he told me that the previous owner had complained about hearing someone knocking from inside the basement. He had apparently believed someone was trapped down there. Police searched the house years earlier. They found nothing. My supervisor told me not to worry about it. But that evening, he called me again. He said I had to return. The furnace was failing. I didn't want to go. But I needed the job. So I went. This time, I arrived before midnight. The house looked different. The snow around the property was untouched, except for one set of footprints. They began at the basement door, and continued toward the woods. I followed them with my flashlight. The footprints disappeared after about 30 feet. There was no second trail, no return path, just footprints leading into the darkness. I went back inside. The basement door was open. I knew I had locked it. I stood there for several seconds. Then I heard breathing. From downstairs. Slow. Heavy. Close. I backed away. The breathing stopped. Then came the knocking. 3 times. But now it was coming from inside the basement. I called my supervisor. No answer. I tried again. Nothing. Then my phone lost service. I turned toward the front door. It wouldn't open. I pulled harder. Nothing. The deadbolt wasn't locked, but the door wouldn't move. That's when the lights went out. The house became completely black. I turned on my flashlight. The beam landed on the staircase. There was someone standing at the top. A person. Completely motionless. I couldn't see their face. I whispered, "Hello." The figure slowly raised one hand and pointed toward the basement. Then the flashlight flickered. For less than a second, the hallway went dark. When the light returned, the figure was gone. I ran toward the front door. This time it opened. I got into my truck and drove away without looking back. I never returned to that property. 2 days later, my supervisor called me. He sounded nervous. He said the company had sent another worker to inspect the basement. The worker found something behind the furnace. An old wooden door. It had been covered by drywall and insulation. Behind it was a narrow crawlspace. Inside the crawlspace was a child's bedroom. The room had been sealed decades earlier. There was a small bed, a wooden chair, and dozens of pencil marks covering the wall. All of them were counting numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 117. But there was something else. On the inside of the wooden door, someone had scratched a sentence into the wood. It said, "He knocks 3 times before he comes in." The property was eventually demolished. The company never told the public about the hidden room. I still think about that house sometimes, especially when I'm driving at night. Because about 6 months after I left that job, I was driving through Pennsylvania around midnight. I stopped at a gas station. While I was standing beside my truck, I heard 3 knocks. Knock. 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 I turned around. There was nobody there. Then my phone vibrated. I looked down. There was a voicemail. No caller ID. I played it. For several seconds, there was only static. Then I heard a quiet voice. My own voice. Whispering. "Don't open it." The voicemail was 17 seconds long. And at exactly 11:53 seconds, there were 3 knocks. I deleted it. I've never heard those knocks again. But I still refuse to answer a door after midnight, especially when nobody is supposed to be on the other side. 1. https://pixscribe.com/v/mnkgu2dzwg UTM_source equals chatgpt.com 3 Disturbing True Deep Woods A Wilderness Horror Stories Mr. Nightmare transcripts